Hi everybody, this is a black and red Arcane Bombardment deck that wants to use one of the new cards from Phyrexia All Will Be One and drive our opponents a little batty with all of our recursion going on here. So let's take a look at how it works. Of course, we've got 4 copies of Arcane Bombardment to reuse everything from our graveyard. We've got some low-end interaction in Abrade, Lightning Strike, and Thrill of Possibility to kind of help us with our land draws a little bit, help us find something, and it's a nice instant to activate Bombardment with. Then we've got Sheoldred's Edict. I was kind of excited to try this in a red and black Bombardment shell, just because it's some nice effective removal for creatures that we don't really like to see anyway. I'm thinking especially of Graveyard Trespasser for one, other things with Ward, but as opposed to something like Go for the Throat, which can't always hit larger artifact creatures, we do get a little bit more flexibility in making our opponent sacrifice either a non-token or a token creature, and I do like that we also get to make our opponent sacrifice a planeswalker as well. So, to complement that, I've also put in Capenna Classic Extract the Truth. This card doesn't see a whole lot of standard play, but we're in such a weird environment now where you kind of need some enchantment and artifact removal at your disposal, that this complements Invoke Despair pretty nicely in that it can get the planeswalkers and enchantments and creatures out of our opponent's hand, or we can make an opponent sacrifice an enchantment later on. So I'm trying this over Pilfer just because Arcane Bombardment sometimes likes the choose one type of spells, and so we're kind of running 2 of those in here in black. In the 3-drop slot, we've got 4 copies of Fable, and then I'm trying out 2 copies of Seismic Wave. I've been seeing a lot of mites, and this takes care of a lot of 1/1 creatures, and it's a little bit flexible. It's a nice instant alternative to something like Brotherhood's End, which you could probably also put in here, and it may actually be better depending on what you're seeing on the ladder. Then working our way up into the 4 and 5 mana slots, we've got 3 copies of Big Score. It helps us get Arcane Bombardment down early and usually lets us cast an instant on top of that if we're at the right number of mana. And of course, we want to repeat cast Invoke Despair with Arcane Bombardment. Getting even 1 copy under Bombardment is usually enough for our opponents to scoop. This card does so much from removal to card draw that a full 4 of in here is entirely necessary. Over at the lands, there's nothing too different. I am trying out 4 Blackcleave Cliffs as another black and red dual land. As I mentioned, Invoke Despair, very important, and so we want to make sure we've got all 4 black pips as soon as turn 5. As soon as we can cast a spell, we usually want to get one off. And then we've got down here Ziatora's Proving Ground for some cycling, and I'm trying out a Tocasia's Dig Site, a little cheeky include to get a little more control over our draws. Wasn't as happy with the new tap lands from Phyrexia that come into play tapped and we can sack them later to draw a card. Kind of the less expensive version of the ones from New Capenna, I think it was. So giving this a shot in here as well, we'll see how it works out. At any rate, let's get over and see some games with this deck over on the Ranked Standard ladder. I'll be with you for commentary, but as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Okay. Risky keeping a 2-lander, but I'm feeling good. We've got so much early interaction. And there's a Thrill. Excellent. That should be able to draw us out of any hole we find ourselves in. So let's see what type of mono black our opponent's on here. Starting off with a Tenacious Underdog. Let's take a look at that hand with Extract the Truth. Let's hit Opportunist now, since they could cast it this turn, and we'll work on Sheoldred next turn with our 2nd copy of Extract. We're going to be shields down to this underdog for a few minutes. Let's see what they picked up. All right, let's take Sheoldred, and they're sitting on a handful of removal over there, so really just this underdog happening right now. We keep drawing lands. Let's get the tapped one down now. We can keep our options open with our 2-mana instants for next turn. Okay, Phyrexian Obliterator. That is a good one. Let's make them sack now. Probably going to sack the underdog, but that will leave them open to Invoke Despair from us to get rid of this Obliterator. Alright, Invoke hits that. We'll hit them for 4 damage altogether and pick up 2 cards. We get a Dig Site and a Big Score. Underdog comes back. Well, the plus side for that situation now is at least we're doing 2 damage to him every turn they use that. Land number 6. Well, I think we're going to big score here and try to land a finisher if we can. As Underdog keeps working on both of us. Let's big score away this dig site. Excellent, there it is. If we can fade and invoke Despair from the opponent, I think we're in pretty good shape. We've got Invoke Despair of our own already in the graveyard that we could randomly pick up here. Okay, we draw a little bit more land. Let's land Bombardment, and I think we just pass here. There's a chance we could pick up a big score if we do something now, but I know we want to use this Sheoldred's Edict on our opponent's turn, and so we might be able to get in a situation where we can take care of 2 things, save a little life here. So they're going to pump up the Sleeper, try to get in for 5. Let's hit him with another Sheoldred's Edict. Make him sack a creature. Let's see, Bombardment picks up, Extract the Truth. So we'll take a look at the opponent's hand here. See what those 2 cards are. Oh, nothing but removal. Okay. Alright, so they decide to sack the Underdog since they can get that back for free. We're going to take 2 from this Sleeper. Ooh, and we pick up Invoke Despair. That should leave us with mana for our instants next turn, so it's too good to pass up. Let's go for it. We pick up Sheoldred's Edict. Let's do that now, and that way we'll draw an extra card off of Invoke Despair, since they'll have no creatures left to sacrifice to that. And they are hiding 1 more card in that hand, so let's take a peek. Just a swamp. Okay. Alright. Well, that sort of cleared the way for Invoke Despair. We've got him down to 4. But we are at 6 ourselves. Let's pass and keep up an instant for their turn. Try to pick up Invoke Despair. Get them low with this Lightning Strike. Okay, they're at 2. If they attack here, we can Lightning Strike their face. They can hit the Underdog with the March, I think, and at least gain 2, but they... Okay, scoops it up. Good game. All right. A 2-lander. Let's keep it. A lot of early interaction here. We've got a big score coming up here. If we can draw into some lands, that will sort of push us into Invoke Despair territory. Excellent. I think we're going to extract the Truth here and see what we can do to slow our opponent down. We're seeing black and white so far. Ooh. Opportunist, Welcoming Vampire, and Wedding Announcement. Let's go for the Welcoming Vampire. So we've got Sheoldred's Edict to take care of this Opportunist. And then we can count on Invoke Despair to take care of the eventual Wedding Announcement. So we were kind of covered each way here. I'll actually use Lightning Strike now since the Edict can cover more things with Ward, since you know they're running Graveyard Trespasser over there. And we'll just make them discard Wedding Announcement right away rather than waiting. I'm going to refill a little bit with a Bankbuster. We hit 5, so it's Invoke Despair time. That's going to refill our hand. Alright, no Bombardment, but we got a couple of ways to draw into one. This Abrade might be nice if they decide to start hitting us with this Bankbuster. Opponent uses that Soul Transfer they've been sitting on to get back the Welcoming Vampire. Let's pass. We might have a window to big score here. There's the vampire. And they're going to draw with Bankbuster. Creating a token and drawing an extra card with the vampire. Nice. And Hotshot Mechanic, but the vampire only triggers once a turn, so let's big score. Let's get rid of Thrill. Similar effect, but no treasures. We get another big score. Let's thrill away this land and hold on to these treasures. Okay, Lightning Strike. Looking at our mana, I don't know if we can big score here. Let's get rid of the vampire and at least try to shut off some of this card draw. We've got a lot of individual removal and still no kind of no bombardment as our control finisher. Luckily, this particular version of the deck really blanks an opponent's removal. We're not even running Burn Down the House right now. Wandering Emperor from the opponent.
I am the Emperor of Kamigawa.
They will opt to make a creature token.
My guards, to me.
Plenty of creatures that can crew up that Bankbuster. Let's go ahead and resolve that and make it a creature. Pass 2 attacks, and then let's Abrade the Bankbuster right now. We will drop to 18. And let's big score away this extra mountain. Again, without having many creatures ourselves, the Wanderer not a huge threat right now. We do have some edicts that we could use to take care of it. Let's hit him with this Seismic Wave. I think that makes sense. It's going to leave the Fox alive, but it will take care of those other two. And Fable, if we draw another land next turn, we'll be able to cycle them away instantly. And I'm okay if they have another turn with the Wanderer. Like we're not facing too much of a threat on from their board at the moment. Ooh, Sanctify. All right, it's going to be more of a top deck battle. Another Hotshot Mechanic. Sanctify was a great include in a past Mardu version, a black, red, and white version of Arcane Bombardment.
Remember your training.
Back before the release of Phyrexia, when mono red was a lot more prevalent, any kind of life gain would kind of shut that down. All right, so 3 of a kind on these edicts. Let's get rid of the Wanderer right now. And I think hang back with this Goblin Shaman token. Threaten some blocks, make the opponent have a little bit more. Yep, that's a trade I'll make. We will trade 1/3 of a card, basically, for one of your whole cards. Fable's so good. And we pick up a Seismic Wave here. Another Hotshot Mechanic. Really leaning on crewing vehicles over there. I wonder if they run any... the Phyrexian version of the Weatherlight. Surge Hacker mech, perhaps. Well, we can't get rid of both of these since they're artifact creatures, but we can target one, so let's at least take care of a little damage from them. See what else they play before we decide what to do. Yet more lands. All right. Well, our opponent, the enemy of fun with a Sanctify versus our Arcane Bombardment deck, means we're gonna hold tight and just take a little more damage from this. Ugh. Sulfurous Springs. All right. Well, we're 30 cards in. Opponent has gotten rid of one of our bombardments. There are 3 left. And this could help us find one. Let's go. Okay. Think we can do this. Let's Invoke Despair. That will take care of the Hotshot Mechanic. Draw us 2 cards. All right. Removal for days over here. I think it's worth getting down this Fable. We're decent enough on mana where if we draw into Bombardment, we're going to have 2 untapped lands left over anyway to immediately activate it. Staring down 3 of... Okay. All right. I'm telling you, it's a rough time to be a player that is dependent upon an expensive 6-mana enchantment, but yeah, they have hit our Fable twice. This is some rough going. Well, we've got another thrill. We could draw into something else. Sitting here at a tenuous 5 life. Let's thrill away this Springs. There's Bombardment. That's fantastic. So we just have to worry about this Soul Ripper and the Opportunist refilling their hand. And I think if we do this now, let's get in a little bit. Just get a treasure. Doesn't so much matter if they block, but maybe we can bait them into... Oh, okay. You never know if they're going to activate their crude vehicle. We can take a shot at it. All right, so now we've got 4 mana available. That means we can afford to do 1 spell now and 1 spell on our next turn, or our opponent's turn, I mean. If we had played Proving Ground, we'd only be at 3, and we'd be exposed to that vehicle over there. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. That's like the 3rd or 4th Sanctify from our opponent as they play Phyrexian Arena and are going to start refilling their hand in a more accelerated fashion. Oh, all is not lost. We get a Bombardment. If we can play this in attack and we'll be up to 2 treasures, so that means we can keep a spell open. All right, opponent. Did you draw your 4th Sanctify? Blade of the Oni. And Wedding Announcement. Okay. See, if they go too wide, they might be able to start dodging our individual removal, but we've got a pretty good stockpile here. As they crew up the Soul Ripper. Let's let them go to attacks and see what they do. Do you choose to sacrifice? You do. Let's abrade that and destroy it. Just wanted to see if we could get a little extra value for our money. We can afford to discard 1 of these as Abrade fires off. Wedding Announcement gives them a token. Lightning Strike, a great pickup here. So I think let's make them sacrifice the non-token creature. Get rid of the blade. Ooh, Extract the Truth. Yes, sacrifice and enchantment. Either one is fine. We can big score away this mountain we've been saving. We pick up a rough 2 lands, but we could possibly ditch those to this Fable we've got coming up or a future big score. Okay, so they get rid of the announcement. Good choice. Phyrexian Arena is what they need to get their hand refilled in this game. We can afford to attack here. We've got removal for days if they decide to send this human token over at us. Fable number 2 to filter out some of these lands we've got in our hand. There it is. Yahtzee. We got Sanctify number 4 over here. Well, I think before Bombardment finds its way out, let's get some cards out of it. Lightning Strike to the face. That's going to pick us up an Abrade. We'll hit your token. Extract the Truth is going to find Phyrexian Arena. And Big Score is going to help us get rid of these lands and find something else. Excellent. There's Invoke Despair. We might be able to finish this game off with that. All right, Sanctify brings them back up to 10. But we've got 4 on board, plus an Invoke Despair. plus a second Invoke Despair if we need it. All right, let's get on in there. Well, with four Sanctifies pointed at our face, I can't say you don't deserve this opponent, but it was a good game. I loved it. Good back and forth. Despair takes him to 0, and on to the next one. Finally, a hand with some lands in it. Let's go. We pick up Invoke Despair. We'll start the Proving Ground off. Plenty of black mana to eventually reach this Invoke Despair. Opponent leads with a Bank Buster. Could be a more control-y mono white build. I've seen some of those going around. Announcement, Blood Tithe Harvester and Restoration. So they are short on red and black mana at the moment. Hence the early Bank Buster to try and draw into some of their other colors. Chose the wedding announcement there because I think I've mentioned this in another video, but we're short on sleepers in this version. Trying something out without Burn Down the House. We're really leaning on Invoke Despair, kind of going the burn method, going over the top. Opponent with a Restoration, but they can only get a Plains. Still having some mana woes. Alright, well this may be our opening to big score into a slightly early Arcane Bombardment. So they discard the Harvester and get to play it through a Ganjo that way. Circumvent the mana requirements into Inspiring Overseer. It's going to net them a life and a card. And Bankbuster number 2, as they're still sitting on a command of Gix, Gix's command, and a Go for the Throat, which isn't going to have any targets over on our side if we can help it. Well, let's get an Invoke Despair in the yard. We can't quite play Arcane Bombardment and fire it up right away, so let's get some more juicy targets for it into our graveyard. We pick up a card, do a little cleanup work on the opponent's side. Opponent looking to draw with that Bank Buster. And they will crew up the second one, aiming for a little extra damage to our face. All right, well, we will drop to 16. Looks like they're going to do a blood token, discarding Bankbuster number 3. Looking for something else to do here. Surprised we haven't seen any Planeswalkers or anything from them yet. So looking at this mana, we're at 6. We can afford to do this. And we'll have 2 mana left over for a Sheoldred's Edict. What do we got down there? All right, we got Big Score and Extract the Truth in addition to a Despair. So 33% odds of picking up Despair. Not sure what they're waiting on. Could be stuck on a Go for the Throat potential activation. Let's make them sack now. We got there. Invoke Despair gets picked up. All right, opponent now has some targets for the command. Another Harvester, but they can pay for it the regular way this time. And we are set up now to use Invoke Despair on our turn to activate Bombardment. This wedding announcement doesn't have a hope of lasting too long. See if they decide to crew something up here. They do. Don't think it mattered which one they used there. Looks like they both have Summoning Sickness. Opponent will get us down to 12. just a token from the announcement. Invoke Despair here. That will leave us with 2 for this Edict. So let's fire that off. See what we can do. All right. We pick up big score. Let's get rid of the Sulfurous Springs. And, of course, Invoke Despair number 2. Opponent in the unenviable position of having to make some hard choices about what to discard. Says goodbye to the creature token, and we've gotten them down to 7. Let's discard a couple of lands here. Plenty of instants on our side to get another Despair out of this bombardment. Okay, gonna Blood Tithe Harvester, get another blood token. 4 mana left. Let's see what they decide to do here. And they are gonna crew up one Bankbuster and draw with the other one. Kind of want to see what our options are before firing off a spell. All right, so they're coming in. We can just Abrade the Bankbuster here. As we pick up Extract the Truth. We can take a look at that hand, see if they're holding on to anything. Big score to filter out a land, and of course Invoke Despair. Lots going on here. Although, in hindsight, we probably think we would have had enough mana to point a Seismic Wave at their face, and that might have been guaranteed 6 damage to win. But as it stands, we pick up a Lightning Strike anyway, so let's go ahead and close this out now with a final 3 damage to the face. Oh, opponent going to go looking with a blood token. Did they pick up something? Not quite there. All right, good game. Well, this is an interesting hand. We got 3 copies of Big Score. We'll start off with Proving Ground. Make sure our mana's up and running on turn 2. Oh, and we go right into Fable as well. Opponent taking a look at our lands. Kami of Transience. We can thrill away this Big Score, just looking to guarantee some land draws and work our way up to an eventual bombardment. We'll just start off with a Fable for now. Back when runes were in Standard, the green-white enchantments deck was a lot more prevalent, but still has some good synergies. Opponent with a Restoration of Eiganjo finds them a Plains and will put a counter onto the Kami. Well, hopefully we can draw into some of our black cards, which are surprisingly structured to take care of enchantments. Usually black not a color that gets to do that. Alright, let's get in for the free treasure. Not planning on blocking that Kami with our token anyway. And let's see what our opponent discards to put into play. That looks like nothing, but they've got a Hallowed Haunting. So we are going to need an answer for that, as we are notoriously short on board wipes in this version. Let's Big Score. Okay, that's a great draw for us. We may have to take some damage here. Oh, even better. I was going to say we might have to wait until that flips, but now we can just fire this off. Invoke Despair, so that will take care of the Kami, the Restoration, and we'll draw a card. And then to clean up that last haunting, we can go ahead and fire off Extract the Truth. Make them sacrifice that right now. Okay. Feeling much better with that draw. Let's get in and create a treasure. And we've got another Invoke Despair on deck if they play out any more troublesome enchantments. Hallowed Haunting number 2. Okay, well, we are ready for that this time. Swamp, let's save the Proving Ground to draw. Invoke Despair. Hit our opponent for 2 and get rid of that enchantment. We pick up an extra 2 cards. Suppose it doesn't really matter, but we'll make a copy of the Goblin. Just get that extra treasure out of it. All right, opponent's down to 6. Let's end it there. We've got 4 on board for next turn. Not quite enough to finish a game. Just a Jukai Naturalist comes down. Okay. Oh, but that is an enchantment. Choices. Let's use Extract the Truth. I don't know what they could have to flash out, but we'll hang on to the Edict. All right, it's nothing. We'll do the same big brain play of copying the Goblin Shaman. Get some extra treasures. We get him down to 2. All right, opponent. Let's see if we can draw into a Lightning Strike and just finish this now. No, it's a Fable. Why can't I Fable? It's because I already have one down? What? Is it legendary? Am I missing something there? Why couldn't I play that Fable? At any rate, we're in a good spot. We just need 2 more damage here. Opponent plays a Kami, but that is but 1 blocker. And we will rob them of even the slightest bit of hope there. Edict takes care of that, and we will just get in for a simple attack. And we got there. Good game.